really is low carb. Pork chop sauce, an Asian-inspired dish. We use just some pork chops. Then we're going to go with some cauliflower fried rice on the side. We're going to have berry fluff that yields low carb. So let's get started. I have here a large skillet that I'm going to preheat. Now the thing is with with any kind of an Asian type dish, you want to make sure that you have all of your ingredients and ready to go. Goes very, very quickly. So here I have 6 pork chops. Now these are just the long chops because that's a bit leaner, still full of protein, no carbs. So we have 6 just the boneless pork chops that I have sliced into thin pieces, as you can see. I just cut them in pieces, ½ inch maybe thick. These were the thinner cut pork chops. You could use a pork loin, you could use pork tenderloin, you could use any kind of a boneless pork product that you wanted to. If you don't eat pork, you could totally substitute like a sirloin steak, some chicken breasts or thighs that you cut into strips. That part's up to you. I just am choosing pork chops. Now I have my skillet preheating. Alongside that, we're going to add some fresh green beans that I've already washed and trimmed. I'm just going to cut these into smaller pieces while that sautés. Let's make our sauce for this. We're going to use soy sauce, about 4 tablespoons or so, but you don't have to measure. Just make sure that you get it together first. Some toast. This is one of my favorite ingredients, and you've seen me use times. Make sure when you buy this, and you can buy all of this in the regular grocery store, that you get usually dark. That's because it's toasted oil. They do sell a clear sesame oil. That's not the same thing. Yes, it's from the sesame seed, but this has been toasted. It adds a tremendous amount of flavor, and this is what you want. We're going to add about 2 tablespoons, or teaspoons, excuse me. I'm going to add some of that to the skillet to cook. And then, now, my original recipe calls for sriracha, which is it is now the new ketchup in the United States anyway. It's a chili paste type product. I don't have any of that on hand here in the kitchen, but I do have gochujang, which is a chili paste. It's a Korean condiment that adds the same kind of flavor because it adds heat. It adds a little bit of that umami flavor, but it adds the heat that the sriracha does and that chili flavor. Either will work. If you don't have either one, add a tablespoon or so of your soy and some red pepper flakes will work. Here you can use your own choice because I tend to like things spicy. So I'm adding about a tablespoon. But you can add as much or as little as you like. Now, I'm going to add some Himalayan pink salt. If you don't have this, don't go out and buy it just for this recipe. I always have this on hand because I use it quite a bit. It's actually a pink colored salt. It just has more minerals. It's not as processed. But if you don't have this, kosher salt will work fine. I'm going to go ahead and sprinkle some salt and some pepper on my pork. If you're using whatever protein you're using, chicken or steak, either one. This will work with any of that. Okay, going to add that to that. Just toss that for just a second. All right, my skillet should be getting hot. Let me wash my hands real quick. We'll add some oil to the pan because we want to make sure that pan is hot. I used to watch, when I was just a little girl, I watched the very first cooking show I ever remember. I've been watching cooking shows since I was like 8 or 9 years old. There was a gentleman that I watched every Saturday morning, and his saying is, hot wok, cold oil, food won't stick, and it's very true. So get your pan hot first. Add some, I'm using olive oil because that's what I have, but if you don't have any, just use canola. I'm going to add about another teaspoon or so of my toasted sesame oil. Now, this is not a cooking oil. It just flavors the oil a little bit. Give that about 10 seconds to heat up, and we're going to add our pork to our hot skillet. You want to hear that sizzle. Okay, spread it out to a thin layer. I'm actually going to turn my pan up. Okay, one layer. And I like to leave it alone. Let it heat on that eye for just a minute before you start stir frying it. I don't typically use a wok for my stir fries. If you have a wok, feel free to use that. I just find it's easier to do it in a skillet. I'm going to mix together my sauce and set that to the side for just a second. These are my green beans. This is just about, I don't know, 12 ounces or so of fresh green beans. If you don't like green beans, you could use celery, carrot, whatever vegetable you want. I just really like green beans. Sometimes I leave these whole, and sometimes I cut them in half. And today I think I'll cut them in half. Either will work. If they're really long, you know, just cut them into pieces, basically, bite-sized pieces. Just line some up. Cut them right straight down the middle. Okay. Our pork sounds good, smells even better. I love Asian food. I guess, you know, probably, I don't know, I love Italian food too, but I think if I had to pick my favorite traditional type food, it would be Chinese. I just love Chinese food, all kinds. We've made several stir-fry dishes together on the show. And it's, you know, it's really not difficult. And nowadays, you can find your ingredients in the grocery stores. Most grocery stores have an international section where they will have a good variety of Chinese ingredients, cooking ingredients. And it's, you know, it's become very common. So it's not difficult to find the ingredients. If you ever are in a city that has an Asian grocery store, do yourself a favor. Just spend a couple of hours, go in there. It's amazing at the different things and products that you will see. I'm just going to stir, clean up. When I come back, we're going to finish up the pork, and we're going to start on the cauliflower in just a minute. All right, it's just sauteed. We're starting to get a little bit of a golden brown deliciousness on there. So let's just let that go for just a minute. And let's get started on our cauliflower rice. Now, I have a head of cauliflower, but you can find cauliflower in the grocery department already, in the produce, already riced up for you if you want to. But I want to show you how to do it on your own. If you eat low carb, this is a great, great vegetable to have on hand. I'm just cutting this head. I've already washed it. I'm cutting it into, and I'm putting it in my food processor. I've got my skillet, another skillet on medium heat. I'm going to do half at a time, and I want to pulse it until it becomes the size of rice. Don't go too far. Okay, you see how that just becomes like a fried rice, rice-sized That's what you want. Let me grab a bowl here. I did not prep. Did not think ahead on this one. So that's all right. Let's add this to the bowl. And finish the other half. So it's not difficult to make your own riced cauliflower. And it's a lot cheaper than buying it pre-riced. But either works. Up to you. I like to cut out that thick core. Stir my pork here. Whoop. Oh well, we're making a mess. What's new, right? Because I'm a very messy cook, and I know it. But that's all right. It cleans up. Add your florets. Let's see, I'm going to add the rest of that. Where's my little scooper? Okay, do the same with the second half. Just kind of pulse it. Had it a little full. Get those bigger chunks out that did not get down there. I had it a little too full. That's okay. All right. Now, we've got our cauliflower ready to go. Let's just not waste it. Let's put that in there. We'll get that in just a second. Now, our pan is heating. Let's stir our, oh yeah, you see that little bit of brown right there? That is what you want. It doesn't take but just a minute. Now, our pan is heating. We're going to add a couple of little small green onions, the whites and the green, to our rice. Okay. Got a couple of tablespoons of butter that I'm going to put in the rice pan. I'm going to add my onions. With a little bit of oil, teaspoon or so. I like the combination of the two. Just for a second. Now I'm going to add my rice, my cauliflower rice. Okay. Ooh, this is looking good. That we made. And I'm also going to add in the green beans. Turn that down just a little bit now. Oh, look how pretty that looks. Just want to kind of let those beans. That looks good. Stir fry our cauliflower. Get that going for just a minute. I'm going to add just a touch of water to that, maybe, I don't know. I mean, literally probably a third of a cup, just to kind of help cook. Let that go for just a few minutes, couple minutes to cook. Clean up here. I've got some garlic that I want to add to my rice. Garlic until you get something in your skillet because it will burn. And a little bit of salt. To the cauliflower. See what your stuff ready to go. Forgive my voice, I have severe allergies lately. Showing no signs of it's driving me crazy. Okay, You just got to kind of watch everything. Oh, that garlic. Nice little whiff of that garlic. Just let that cook for a few minutes. That's add all of that sauce in there. Okie dokie. Now, beef fried rice without egg. So, 3 eggs here. I'm going to just crack them and beat them like I'm going to make scrambled eggs. Okay. Just take your fork. Get them beaten. I'm going to add some soy sauce to my rice, my cauli rice. A couple of teaspoons or so. You don't have to be exact. Because I have it here and because I love it, I'm going to add a little bit of the toasted sesame oil. If you don't have the sesame oil, you don't have to add it. But I'm telling you, that one's worth buying. And once you open that, do keep that in the refrigerator, the sesame oil. It is so good. If you have some frozen peas, you could add some frozen peas and carrots to this if you wanted to. Just let that go for a minute. We're just basically cooking the cauliflower. Our pork is pretty well done. Need to taste it for seasoning. That just really takes just a couple of minutes. And that's all there is to that one. And that's through. You want to taste it for seasoning. Make sure you've got enough of the balance of the flavors. Let's try a piece of the pork. That is good. That is done. You get a little bit of salt. You get a little bit of heat. It's delicious. Pork is done. Cauliflower rice is cooking. Just waiting to add my eggs. I'm going to clean up my mess. When I come back, we are going to make a delicious, easy raspberry fluff. I'll be back in just a minute. All righty, now our rice is good. I used the wrong spatula. Well, I'll get a clean one for the desserts. When it's cooked through, you want to make a little well in the center of your pan. Remember the eggs. We just want to add the eggs, and we're scrambling them. Basically, that's what fried rice has in there. It has egg in it. So you want to add your egg to the center, and just like you'd make scrambled eggs, we're just going to put that in the center, let it cook. While that's doing its thing, in my mixer, and this is one time I do like a stand mixer unless you want to stand there, or you can whip it by hand. I have 1 cup of heavy whipping cream that I'm going to go ahead and start whipping. So I'm going to let that go for just a second. Start that process now. Just stir in your egg once it's scrambled. And you've got easy cauliflower fried rice. That's done. Again, you want to taste for seasoning always. Doesn't need anything. If you've got some sesame seeds, you can add those to both. If you don't have any, don't worry about it. Adds a little bit of flavor, texture. All right, our whipping cream is going. Turn it up. You want to let that whip till it's heavy peaks. If you wanted to substitute like the frozen thawed whip topping, Cool Whip kind of stuff, you could. It's not as good, but you can substitute that if you don't have whipping cream. But if you're on a low-carb diet, heavy whipping cream is really something you should think about having in your pantry at all times. Okay, now I want to show you something. When you let that go for like 3 minutes or so, this is the texture that you want. We turn that whipping cream into whipped cream at stiff, like with the stiff peaks. That's what you want. Keep it in there because we're going to add some wonderful things to it. All right, while it's going, we're going to add about half a cup of sugar substitute, your choice, some vanilla, and some cream cheese that is softened, and I'm going to add it a block, but I'm going to cut it in cubes to make it a little easier. Turn it up. By the way, don't add any of the rest of this stuff, and you just let that whipped cream keep going. That's how they make butter, by whipping cream. Oh, and you'll have butter, which is not. Okay, add 1 block of softened cream cheese. I like to just do it a little bit at a time. Oh, so good. I had a little pinch, and I mean like 1/8 of a teaspoon in the sugar. Okay, let's see where we are. These KitchenAid are an investment, but I'll tell you, the one I have at my house, I have had, I got it as a wedding gift, and this year is our 25th wedding anniversary. Worth every penny, let me just tell you, because they are workhorses. Let me taste. Oh my goodness. That is so good. Now, while it's going on, I'm going to add about 4 ounces of raspberries, and I want to whip those in there. Not to break them up totally, just to kind of get them incorporated. Oh my goodness. This is really so good. And there is a very, very easy, low-carb dessert. So this is good on its own. It's good over a piece of pound cake that you've made, low-carb, or whatever you're doing. But there is a delicious, delicious dessert that is low-carb. So easy to make, you know, and we really, I need to probably taste that, make sure it's good. What do you think? Let's see. With the raspberries in there. That is delicious. I could eat that whole bowl. And that, my friends, has no carbs. So, whipping cream, cream cheese, powdered sugar, vanilla extract. You could change up that extract to any flavor you wanted. And I chose raspberries because they're just so good. But you could use strawberries, you could use blueberries to keep the carbs down. Add any kind of berry that you want. And let's not forget our main dish here. So we have our wonderful Asian style rice, cauliflower fried rice that we're going to put on our plate. And to go alongside that, we have some delicious pork saute with some green beans in there. So good, my friends. So, so, so good. I like to add just a little bit of sesame on top because I really, really like sesame seeds. And you've got a delicious, easy, healthy, very low-carb meal for you to have and enjoy any day of the week. We made the pork saute, which is the boneless pork chops and some fresh green beans. And we just added some flavors, some heat. I got my heat from the gochujang, which is a Korean condiment. But if you have sriracha, which again is the new ketchup here in America. Everybody likes the sriracha, me included. I just didn't have any here. So, but you can substitute the sriracha, you can substitute the garlic chili paste, whatever kind of heat-bringing condiment that you have. This is something that for me is a pantry staple because I love it in so many different things. It's just a very, very concentrated, wonderful source of heat. But you could use sriracha or red chili flakes. If you don't have any of them, add a little bit of extra soy and add some garlic and add some crushed red pepper flakes would be fine. So there you go. And our rice, which we made out of a head of cauliflower, because if we're eating low carb, we cannot have that rice. But there's no reason why you can't have a rice type product to go alongside your stir fry. And then what I think may be my favorite part of this whole meal, the raspberry fluff that we made with whipping cream. We made our own homemade whipped cream. If you don't have whipping cream, again, you can use the frozen, thawed out whipped topping. It won't be as thick, but it will be delicious. We added some cream cheese, some powdered sugar substitute vanilla, and I chose